All I want for Christmas is news. I don't want a lot for Christmas. There's only one thing I want, to never ever have to hear the song again, because it's time for all the tabletop role-playing game news, weather, and general internet nonsense to start the week. Time to take out our sextant, chart the stars, and see where the wild winds of role-playing are going to take us this week. How are you? Good morning. It is 8:35 in the morning. It is Christmas here at Site B, and I am your grumpy guide to all the tabletop role-playing game nonsense that is the OGGM, coming to you live on a lovely Monday, sunny morning. Monday morning, ba-ba. So, what's going on in the world of tabletop role-playing games that does not involve our friends at Wizards of the Coast, and of course the two major non-controversies that rocked the Wizards of the Coast boat this week. So let's first take a look. Is there anything going on that doesn't involve Wizards of the Coast? Green Ronin has somehow gotten the rights to the Valiant comic book universe and are putting out a Valiant adventure superhero tabletop role-playing game, most likely looking like it's going to use Mutants and Masterminds. There was a previous Valiant superhero role-playing game. Yeah, it is Mutants and Masterminds. Based upon the Valiant comic book universe. I'm sure for a lot of you, what is the Valiant comic book universe? I've never heard of it. Bloodshot, that movie that Vin Diesel was in. Bloodshot is from the Valiant comic book universe. This is not their first try at doing an RPG. Maybe this one will do better since it is under the amazing Mutants and Masterminds system. There has been an announce for a Paranoia video game. The game was originally released on Epic in December of 19th and then removed in December 2020. It's been, not surprisingly, has a very rocky history, including some weird legal mumbo jumbo from the various people who claim they published it and owned it. But now everything has seemed to be resolved. The intellectual property is currently in the hands of Big Ben Interactive, and they are making the Paranoia Happiness is Mandatory role-playing game. Paranoia Happy is Mandatory feels like a good name for this year. Merry Christmas, RPG. Grandma, Merry Christmas, Shattered Entertainment. Thanks for spending Christmas morning with me. I'm sure there's plenty of family and friends you could have spent it with, unless you're pathetic like me and have no family and friends that you want to spend time with. I mean, I have family. I just don't want to spend time with them. There's a new Fallout RPG coming out. This looks like it's going to be a expansion to the existing Fallout role-playing game. It's going to coincide with the release of the television show that starts on Amazon in 2024. Did you know there was a Fallout television show coming out? And people were very weary, but those who have seen the trailers are like, wait, this is actually looking good. So there'll be a lot of new product to tie in with the role-playing game and the TV show coming out soon. So if you're a fan of post-apocalypse, Fallout, or just generally post-apocalypse, there's a good thing to take a look at. If nothing else, there'll be some cool Fallout-inspired tabletop role-playing maps that you can use. There'll probably be a whole bunch of day after Christmas sales tomorrow. What the fuck is that? What is this? A steampunk gloves? That's the brass knuckles, guys. How is this legal? Oh no, officer, I punched him with my gloves. They're not a concealed weapon. They're a fashion statement. Guys, that's a brass knuckles. I mean, it might fall apart after the first punch, but yeah. And how do these keep you warm? If anything, they'd be colder. And how do you stick this in your... This is just stupid. Okay? There's no... You could stick your hand in your pockets. Those little things would get stuck. You know, anything you touch would just get stuck to those little rivets in the gears. Your hands would be covered with lint and string and hair and cat fur. Those can't be uncomfortable. You go out in the cold, you know the metal's going to chill right off first. So you're basically wearing, you know, these metal studs on your hands that are burning through your flesh because they've gotten so cold. And it's a weapon. It is a non-concealed weapon. At least for the first punch. I have a feeling it would fall apart afterwards. Or you could cut somebody's face with those rivets again. How did this pass? How did this pass anything? any possible thing of safety and weights and measures and any other thing? Anybody with an ounce of common sense looking at this thing would just go, nope, nope, no. What were you thinking, Steve? There's some other, I guess, steampunk themed gifts that are available because nothing says Christmas. Here again, nothing says Christmas like steampunk. I thought steampunk was dead. But apparently these guys are trying to bring it back. Nothing says Christmas like steampunk. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of other after Christmas sales starting tomorrow. So check it out. Also, of course, you have the bundles, freebies, and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a good time to maybe pick up a tabletop role-playing game you've been looking at all year, but wanted to wait to see if it got marked down before the end of the year. And speaking of things getting marked down before the end of the year, of course, we know that a bunch of stuff on ENWorld, Humble Bumble, and D&D Beyond that are 5e related is getting marked down or sold off for free. And I can't imagine why Wizards of the Coast will be trying to emptying out the D&D Beyond warehouse of 5th edition product, because they assured us all the old stuff is 100% compatible with whatever's coming out in 2024, which means there would be no need to sell off the old stuff and empty out the digital warehouse and the physical warehouse, right? Right? I'm sure there'll be a bunch of 5e stuff marked down on Amazon tomorrow. Can't imagine why. No reason. Why would they want to get rid of the warehouses full of old stuff when you could just send it to Ollie's? Okay, so we've dodged around all the other stories that have shaped this year, this week, this month, this year. Now, of course, oh, hey, Critical Role Cookbook's coming out. Now, of course, probably the main story that is going to be affecting us this week, next week, and for the rest of our lives. Wizards of the Coast. It's time. It's time. Oh, you hurt your ankle? Get better, RPG Grandma. Because we want you up and nimble and ready to face a brand new year of tabletop role-playing and tabletop role-playing nonsense. What another week for Wizards of the Coast. They managed to have not one, but two pointless controversies, and both those pointless controversies I slipped on a doormat. Well, if you got to go, I hope you're okay, and I hope it's just a sprain and nothing worse. And don't let it dampen your holidays, my friend. Okay, so first pointless controversy is once again Wizards of the Coast got involved in an AI art controversy, but this time Wizards of the Coast was not guilty. What a surprise, not guilty. They got called out for some AI art, specifically the AI art featuring that dwarf. I'll show it to you guys again. There we go. Thanks again, of course, ENWorld, for these posts and these links. Makes my job a lot easier. I greatly appreciate you, ENWorld. I always use your links, and when I do use your links, they always include your affiliate number. So if anybody uses my links, they're getting money in your pockets. So yes, there's a lot of controversy over this picture, specifically this arm right here. Can you see it? Yeah, you can. Got called out, people claiming it was AI art. I took when they first got posted, I took one look at them and I said, yep, I bet people are going to say this is AI art. But it's very, very good. But you can tell it's not AI art, specifically because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers and all how busy it is behind. The amount of prompts that the artist would have to have put in to get this very specific piece. Yeah, no, the way the lighting hits the face, it definitely looks real to me. It's an amazing piece of art. But the thing that started the whole chaos was this arm right here. Now, from one point of view, you look at this arm, it just looks like there's a shield floating in midair, and he's missing an arm. And that led many to believe that it was AI art, because AI art, as you know, seems to have an issue with limbs, specifically fingers and knees. So people said, well, it's obviously fake. It's too pretty, and the lighting, and plus look at that arm. And the artist says no. And the artist provided us with proof that it was not AI art. And the individual that said it was AI art got their questionable reputation even more questionable, and forcing them to take down the post and post an apology. Now, I can see why people would think this is fake and AI art, because if you look at the arm from one point of view, it does look like there's nothing there. Like this is empty space, and the shield is just floating there. But if you look at it from another point, you can see the outline of the arm down here. And that what he was trying to do is make it look like the dwarf was holding up the shield. And from one angle, you can clearly see the arm, but from another angle, and at first glance, it does look like the shield is just floating there until you see the shadowing here and the outline here. And then you're like, oh yeah, I get what he was trying to do. I mean, some people have said even if he did paint it, it's still kind of lazy because of this, but whatever. I'm not an art critic. I took one look of it and went, yeah, it looks fine, but I bet people are going to say it's AI. But I never thought it was AI. Of course, I never paid attention to the arm until people told me about it. But this forced Wizards of the Coast to reaffirm us and update their policy regarding AI art, which still kind of reads the same as it did last time, which is Wizards of the Coast saying we absolutely positively do not use AI art in our product. And if you see AI art, well, we'll check it. And if it happens to be AI art, oops, I guess the guy we hired to spot that stuff didn't notice it. So it's not that Wizards of the Coast is or is not going to use AI art. It's that they don't want to be caught using AI art, because it would be going against the current political leanings of Wizards. Wizards wants to support real, living, actual artists and pay them all the money that they're worth. They would never, ever, ever use AI art as long as they're not caught. And then a couple of days later, we didn't hear much about this one. This one did not get as much press as the other one. They got called out again for AI art. And somebody was talking about AI art and magic cards, but the argument was so flimsy that even people who weren't Wizards of the Coast affiliated were looking at the individual's argument for why they thought these magic cards were AI art. And they're like, yeah, no. This is not it, dude. No. What are you talking about? This isn't AI art. And the guy said, well, the creator claimed that he used things for touch-ups. And people are like, yeah, of course they use touch-ups. You have to make the art be able to fit in the format that is a Magic the Gathering card. So yeah, there's touch-ups, because you have to take, a 10 by 10 painting and shrink it down to that teeny little space and make sure it fits the teeny little space, and all the D&D art and stuff is still, recognizable. You can look at the picture and go, yep, that is definitely 99% a tree. But yeah, so that story came and went really quickly. But it has forced Wizards of the Coast to reassert their very vague, wibbly wobbly policy about AI art. Going forward, I think it'll remain the same. They'll claim they're not using AI art. Somebody will say that AI art. They'll post an investigation, and if it is AI art, they'll go, oops, how did we miss that? We'll put in new art. And if it's not AI art, they'll go, see, it's not AI art. Here's the proof, and here's the reason why we know it's not AI art. But then we swept that controversy under the rug and moved on to the controversy, or the non-controversy. Yeah, probably. I mean, again, it's not a thing. Then we had the whole thing about the new super starter adventure, and a lot of people got upset about the thing about making it safe and fudging dice if things look bad for the players. And wow, that got ugly fast. And I hate to defend Wizards, but again, I think this is making a mountain out of a molehill. It is a nothing controversy. I have a feeling that if the writer had actually gotten to write the DM tips the way he intended to write them, this probably wouldn't happen. But of course, he had to edit his writing through the sieve of Wizards of the Coast. And really, it's Wizards of the Coast. You know their philosophy towards gaming right now. So it's not like they're going to suddenly change. And most of the people who are upset about this vehemently claim they do not play 5e, have not played 5e, and will never, ever play 5e. Which sort of goes, then why are you upset with Wizards of the Coast with what they're doing to 5e if it's a game you won't touch? I also think there's a little hypocrisy in a lot of those arguments where people saying, well, I'd never fudge the dice. And it's like, yeah, you do. I know at least one of you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, have done it because I've seen it on the live plays. So yeah, no, we can argue about fudging dice and not fudging dice, and this is the way we played it in the old days. It's like, no, you didn't. Monsters of the Coast has guidelines? What? Yeah. I mean, but then you're going to be like, well, but OGGM, you complain about Wizards of the Coast or shill for Wizards of the Coast. And I'm like, yeah, but I play 5e. I've run 5e. I enjoy 5e. I think the 5e system is a great system. It's not Dungeons and Dragons. It's a great system. And of course, that is part of the problem, is whenever you try to make 5th edition anything other than 5th edition, that's when the issue comes, It's not D&D. Yes, it's not D&D. I mean, other than in name, it's not D&D. And it's not a game any of you are going to play. You tell me that all the time. So what do you care? And the problem is, again, not what he wrote. It's the way he wrote it and the way it was presented. The idea is not new. It is a introductory, one-shot, 90-minute, boiled down railroad of an adventure to introduce kids at a setting like a library or a convention on the idea of Dungeons and Dragons, and to get them to buy the later stuff and then truly learn how to game. It's not meant to teach you how to play D&D. The rules are specific to that setting, that 90-minute adventure, and how to run that 90-minute adventure to make it fast and keep them interesting. And the tips he gave about fudging to make it safe, well, it definitely could have been written better to better make the point he was trying to make about, this is a small, self-contained, dumbed down railroad 90-minute adventure with pre-generated characters that has a very specific outcome at the end. And it's designed to be run quick, fast, show them how to play, get them through the basics. And, it's designed for 9-year-olds and 11-year-olds. So absolutely. I mean, it happens. Okay. And especially when we were younger, when we were 11, 15 playing, we made shit up and fudged dice all the time. So yeah, or changed rulings. And I know at least one person who on that list of people who were shitting on this did the exact thing that they claim the thing does that they would never ever do. Well, I'm upset this happened. I'm like, I know for a fact you've done this. So what are you upset about? But whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a nothing burger. It is another thing Wizards of the Coast has thrown in the air to distract us from the big news. And in a weird way, it's a battle that Wizards is winning because we get distracted by these small stories and we end up fighting amongst ourselves. And the more we fight amongst ourselves and the more we are, excited and angry about these small stories, we are not paying attention to the big stories. Of course, the big stories being the mass terminations of the D&D staff, the $2 million bonus that the CEO received right before the mass terminations, the selling off of several licenses to other companies, the fact that Wizards of the Coast Magic and Dungeons and Dragons Studios are now two separate entities and not what Wizards of the Coast claimed they were going to be, or what Hasbro claimed they're going to be, right? I mean, we're not paying attention to that, but oh boy, we're upset about some misread, written badly DM advice. But meanwhile, nobody's paying attention to the fact that Wizards of the Coast is selling off all the 5e stuff, despite the fact that they continue to claim that 5e 2024 is going to be backwards compatible with 5e 2023. Or nobody's paying attention to the fact that there's still no release date. But oh boy, fake AI art, that gets us upset. DM advice for a game none of you claim to play, that got you all upset. And just by the way, who won this fight? Well, the number of downloads for the adventure in question quadrupled after people brought it to their attention. Because before that, before people were like, oh, Wizards of the Coast, that thing was buried. There wasn't even a link to it on the front page. It was buried by, like, you had to go through 4 links to find it. Wizards of the Coast mentioned it once at PAX, never mentioned it again. Before the other day, when people all were talking about it, it got maybe 30, 100 downloads during PAX, and that was about it. But now, you guys, thanks to you guys, the amount of downloads is quadrupled, because of course people are downloading it going, well, now I'm curious. And if 5 people download it, one of those 5 people are going to go, well, I read this and I actually have no problem with this. So yeah, I think it was another pointless story that we got upset about. And in a weird backwards way, it's kind of what Wizards wants. Because if we're distracted by the small stuff, we're not paying attention to the big stuff. And if we're distracted by the small controversy, maybe next year, maybe in a couple weeks, they try and repeat what they did last January, hoping that we're not paying attention. I don't know. It's just my 2 cents. I think it's fair to say that I will be starting 2024 completely kicked out of the old school. And you know what? I'm okay with that. That's it for today. Stay safe out there. Enjoy your Christmas. And I will talk to you all later. Bah humbug. Merry Christmas. I appreciate each and every one of you for being part of the OGGM this year. Let's make 2024 a great year. Now, I got to go eat Christmas breakfast and give Steve his present. See you later, losers.